My mission president and I were talking on the phone. He asked me how things were going, and he basically told me that he felt it was probably best that I go home. And when he said that, I felt huge relief. At that point, I couldn't foresee myself sticking around for another 6 months, finishing out my mission in this crazy country with these crazy people. We're actually riding down to the city, and I had heard about the city, that there had been some incidents there, and so I was kind of already worried about it. And we get out at this rest stop, and I just, being a missionary, trying to start up a conversation with a guy, and we start talking, and he starts asking all these kind of strange questions, and I'm just confused. He's like, "Where are you from?" I'm from the U.S. And he's like, "Oh." He's like, "I don't think any American can speak Russian this well." And he was just being really weird, and he was really skeptical about who I was and where I was from. Before we get on the bus, he says to me, "You know, we're going to go down this road for a little bit more, and then we're going to get out, and you're going to tell me exactly who you are and why you're here." And so I get back on the bus, and I'm just kind of weirded out a little bit, I guess, and just not really understanding what this guy's getting at. And so we go along on this bus, and I can hear him up in the front seat talking to the people next to him. Couldn't hear everything he was saying, but I heard things like Americans and spies, and so my mind just in that instant snapped, started speculating like crazy, and I had a major breakdown. My mind was convinced that this guy was going to kill us or kidnap us, or I was convinced that the next rest stop, if I got out, he was going to drag me behind a building and beat me up or hold me hostage or something. Anything you could think of, my mind just started running through it, and completely illogical, irrational, but my mind was convinced that that was reality. One way that I described it is it feels like everything's moving twice as fast and the whole room's spinning around. When you're trying to think about things, when you're having an anxiety attack, it seems like everything's going much faster and everything's spinning. And it's hard to think rationally about things. It's hard to really recognize or understand what's going on. And all you know is you want to just get away. You want to get somewhere in a room by yourself and crawl up into bed and go to sleep so you don't have to feel these things or think about these things. You feel disoriented, you feel sick to your stomach, you feel shaky, you can feel yourself, your heartbeat start pounding, your breathing gets heavier. Those are typically, when you're having an anxiety attack, what I felt. My mission president and I were talking on the phone, and he told me it was probably best that I go home. And he said, what will probably happen is you'll go home, meet with a therapist or something, make sure everything's okay. Then we can send you out to a Russian-speaking mission in the US where you can finish out your mission. And at the time I was thinking to myself, oh, that sounds great. I just want to get out of this country. Plus, maybe I'm meant to go to the Russian-speaking Seattle mission and baptize somebody there. And we had a visa trip to go to Kyiv, and we had plans to go to the Kyiv temple. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll go to the temple, I'll pray about it, find out that I'm supposed to go home, and I'll be out of here, and it'll all be great. And so the next day we go to Kyiv, go to the Kyiv temple. I'm sitting in the celestial room, just thinking about this and praying about it. As I'm thinking about it, I just get this impression, this feeling that no, I can't go home, I have to stay here. It was a very spiritual experience, and it was hard to swallow at the time because I was just ready to go home, ready to get my answer that it was time to go home. But I just knew that I needed to stay and stick it out no matter what happened, and things would work out. So that's what I ended up doing. I came back from Kyiv, met with my mission president, and told him, you know what, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to figure out a way to do it because that's what the Lord wants. I started having these struggles. I was able to talk to a therapist on the phone. She gave me some strategies or some things to do to make it better, or at least to cope with it. And I felt like I really got to a point on my mission where I was able to cope with it. And I think since I've got back from my mission, because every day is not as routine as on the mission, it's a lot harder because you're constantly facing different situations. For a long time, I think I felt ashamed about my anxiety. I felt ashamed that I had this problem. I constantly asked myself, like, why is this? Why can't I just change this? And I've learned to simply accept the fact that I have anxiety, and there's nothing to be ashamed about having anxiety. It's nothing within your control. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed of or worried about. I honestly found that as I was open with people about anxiety, that's when I felt the most comfortable, or that's when I felt like I made the most, I guess, growth. And people are understanding in general. I think they are willing to, I guess, hear you out and understand where you're coming from, and your good friends, they'll be there to kind of support you. I mean, my wife right now is incredible at this. She knows that sometimes I get anxious and some days are just worse than others, and she's very understanding of it, and doesn't she always tells me that it's something that she actually loves about me, because it's a very humbling thing. It's humbling to have these worries and to have a hard time going out and talking to people and all these other things, and she says that it's something that she's noticed that has made me stronger, has helped me to be more humble, and to, in a lot of ways, recognize what the most important things in life are.